All right, you're live.
Want to welcome everyone to this February 22nd meeting, 2024 of the Community Preservation Committee. And I will take a motion to open the meeting.
A motion to open the meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 And we do have a quorum, 5 out of 9 positions, so we're good. And it is 6:32. Okay, so we have our agenda before us, and basically what we're going to be talking about is, tonight is follow-up from our January 25th meeting when we were presented with 8 different projects to consider for 2024 funding of Community Preservation Act monies. And so tonight we're going to be getting some updates and also hopefully be able to vote on all of them. So that's our agenda, a few other items. So the first item on the agenda is chairman. So in looking at the bylaws for the Community Preservation Committee, it doesn't say anything about the chair or the terms of the chair, and also doesn't, all it says about members' terms are that they're for 3 years. And so that typically would start on July 1st. So what I'd like to propose tonight is that we table the vote for chair and pick that up again at our first meeting for fiscal year 2025. If that's okay with the committee, we could take a vote on that.
Question?
Yep.
How long have you been chair this time?
Now you want to really tax my memory?
Well, it's either that or eating a candy bar, so I mean,
Yes, no. Let's see. Since 2000 and probably somewhere around 2008.
okay. And
Yeah.
every 3 years you've been reappointed?
Yeah, well, I think the term is every year.
Okay.
So every year we would re-elect, elect a new chairman. So the reason why I've been chair this long is because nobody else wanted to do it, and I was willing to do it. You know, it's one of those things, then once you take something on, then you, then you kind of continue with it. So, but it's kind of difficult to have a new chair in the middle of our session, because now we're deciding on the projects and we'll be doing some presentations, answering questions at town meeting, putting the warrant articles together. So I'm more than happy to do that for the rest of this fiscal year. And then, yes, I would like someone else to take on the chairmanship come July 1. So if that's okay,
That's why you're tabling it.
well, but again, maybe no one wants to do the job, I don't know. So,
Motion that we table item 1 as far as chair election until the new new year in July.
yes, yes,
Second.
okay. Any discussion on that? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, so on the second page of the packet I put together are the list of projects and the summaries of them. And at our last meeting, we went through every one of these, and there were some where we didn't have any questions, and then there were some where we were looking for some updates or more information. Okay, so I think what we just need to do is go through the updates, and then we'll come back and we'll vote on each one by one. So the first project is the Community Garden Design Phase Project. That's looking for $44.50, and we didn't ask for any updates or changes on that one. The second one is Washington Hall on the National Historic Registry for $6,600. Again, we didn't ask for any updates or changes on that one. If anyone on the committee has a question, interrupt me, please. The next one is the Pines the Pines seating, shade and seating proposal for $21,426. And that was a map was requested, so you'll see that color picture was submitted by the town clerk, town administrator, and shows roughly the location of the splash pad, the location of the pickleball courts, which were voted in 2023, and then beside those, you'll see I believe, the two locations of the shade enhancements there, yes. Is Rebecca here? Do you want to say anything else about this, Rebecca?
About which one, I'm sorry?
The shade,
No, unless the board has any questions.
any questions on this proposal about the pine shade locations?
No.
So it looks like one of them is right next to the current playground, and one of them will be right next to the splash pad, right, Rebecca?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay.
Mike, I think that's what
Yes.
we asked for, was what they look like and where they go. And the map clearly shows where the proposal, two of
Yep.
them,
Yep,
where they're gonna go.
yes. Okay, not sure if Rebecca's coming back with a picture or something, but yeah, okay.
I'm right here.
You're all set, right?
I don't think, unless there's, I mean, it shows what the shade structure would look like. It shows the one post. It shows that it would go over the location of the playground. And then on the other one, it's a little unclear because the splash pad has not been constructed at this point in time. So there may be a little bit of a change in what's being proposed, but essentially that's the location that we are looking for in between both the splash pad as well as the parking lot and in between the playground.
Okay. All right, and the amount for that one is $21,426. All right. The next project was the town clerk scan documents, requesting $29,718, and I think we did have a list of questions for that one.
Okay, so I have answers to your questions. First, you wanted to know how many documents would be scanned, and the quote was for 120 books. You asked what the format will be to scan the documents and how supplied to the town. It's an optical scan recognition on a memory stick or cloud access. We can have either. Will they be searchable? Yes. The plan for making them available for the town to access or the employees to access, that would end up being up to us. We're not asking for a software package, we're just asking for the digitization of our documents. So they will provide them back to us either on the stick or on the cloud, and we can upload those to our website if there's room for it, and that would make them accessible to the general public as well as employees, or they can be uploaded just to the internal group drive, and then they would be available to all the employees. So the answer to the other question is still yes, depends on how we upload them and where they'll be accessible, whether there's enough room on the website or not. There's no redaction necessary because they're all public documents. And as I said before, the quote does not include, it does not include software. It is just a quote for the digitization. eBiz is the company that I went to for the quote, and they do offer additional companies that they work with if we were interested in purchasing a software program for continued digitization or for additional support. Mike asked about would other documents that have already been lasered be available to be included in that lookup, but it's not. It's only for the documents that I'm having digitized.
Yeah.
So-
So really, the main answer to your, to the question is that we're basically getting the document scanned with no other thing, and then it's up to us to do something with them after that, right?
That's correct.
And
That's
so
the
you're
current
sug-
quote.
Yeah, and you're suggesting that we could at least put them on the town website.
I would have to check to see if there's room on the website
Yep.
for that.
But that's potentially what
Yes.
you could do,
Yes.
or at least start by making them available to people in town hall
Correct.
primarily. So if somebody wanted to find something, in that case, if somebody wanted to find something, they could come to you, and rather than you having to flip through paperwork, you could get on your computer and search for it and probably find it right away, right?
Or even the employees could too, by
Yep.
using a term, whether it's Mass General Law, to come up with Mass General Laws that have been accepted over the years, or if they're looking for something specific in a bylaw or zoning change, they would be able to find it that way. So depending on the description that you put in, you'd be able to look up and then scan down to find exactly what you're looking for.
Question?
Mhm.
You say employees, you're talking residents?
No, I'm talking employees of the town. So that's, the first step would be potentially to put it on the shared drive so that
Okay.
everybody in the town hall has access to looking up document information. The other step would be to potentially put it on the website, and that would give the general
Public.
the option to look up information.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I think I had asked a question about, is there any place closer than New York? And your answer was, not really.
No, there may be, but this is a company that the Mass Town Clerks do business with. They come to all of the conferences. They have an excellent reputation.
Okay.
And at this point in the game, for me to find somebody that I don't know anything about that's closer,
Yeah.
I don't know that
Futile.
it's a good option. And you asked about insurance coverage, and yes, they have massive insurance coverage for transporting documents.
Okay.
So, you know, we've been there before with documents, especially, you know, a previous grant that we made to the clerk's office, and we purchased a software program. We manually scanned things in. The commission, Conservation Commission, used it also to store documents in it. So, I mean, it's great because potentially, if we wanted to go back to that kind of software, we could go back to that kind of software, and this would help, you know, they could be plugged into that.
Absolutely.
I know that Rebecca's also looking into use of Microsoft Office OneDrive kind of thing where all the documents could be put into that, and then it's just a matter of making it available to the public, and that's the tricky part. And that was the tricky part even with Laserfiche. You know, we had to have licensing in order to do that. So, you know, I think this is a good thing that you want to do, and it's not going to, you know, answer all our problems as far as other stuff, but but the fact is that you're getting these documents scanned, which is a big deal.
Yes.
Because doing it manually is terrible, as you know,
Yes.
right?
It is time-consuming, and this will make it easier for all. And yes, if IT comes up with a program
Yeah.
that the general public can log into and that they can scan documents, then it's not the website if the website doesn't have the full range or ability to take
Yeah.
all those documents.
Yeah, okay, so that's good. So the only thing I would suggest is to, you didn't put a contingency amount in there, just in case, you know, the price goes up or something goes wrong or you have an extra thing or something. So what I'm suggesting is to raise, add about 10% and make the grant for 33,000 instead of 29,718.
Which, that would be great, because originally, the original quote did not include the redelivery of the documents back, and I want to make sure we get the documents
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
So that's perfect. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. So
I will also say that our vault is not climate-controlled, so the documents that are in there are really not protected. I only have 3 fireproof file drawers. The rest of them are just regular file drawers in there. So the documents, as we keep them, it's not a great situation. We've had leaks in the past with pipes burst and some of the documents were lost. So I would hate to see that happen again, especially with the town books.
Today's day and age, we should be digital.
Yeah,
At least
right.
whether the residents can get to it or not, that's a different aspect of it, but for our employees to be able to get there, at minimum, we should have it digitally in case there is some type of weather-related or natural disaster, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and also saves time, saves staff time from looking for things.
Great.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. I would just like to say, maybe before you take your vote again tonight, can I speak one more time? But I'll wait till other people make their presentations, unless you have time for it now, or
Go ahead.
it would be regarding the vote. All right. My question was, the CPC itself has changed a little bit over time, that 3 of the original 9 boards are no longer in existence, which one of those is the Open Space and Trails. That one, I asked back in 2023 if it was still an active board, and I was told at the time it was dissolved, and the last time a member has been appointed to that board was 1921. So I don't know that that's a person that should be able to vote for any of the issues here tonight, if it's not an active and viable board.
Oh, no, but we don't have any representation from that.
Understood, but for future, it's just,
Oh,
it's,
yes, and I think that if you read the bylaw, the selectmen can appoint somebody else if there's no boards, if the boards represent, either the board's not represented or the board doesn't exist, which in this case, the Affordable Housing Committee and the the Open Space and Trails don't. So we're short 2 members, unfortunately. And so I think what we're going to have to do is, after July 1, probably seek the selectmen to appoint somebody to fill those 2 positions.
agreed. Okay, I just wanted to make the point.
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
Okay, the next project is the Perry Park Design Project, requesting $30,800. And in your packet, there's a page, the other colored page are pictures and a kind of a map of the location of Perry Park and the lot and where the project plans to go. And so it says, Perry Park's bordered by Main, King, and Union Street. It suffers from some abuse in the forms of recent vandalism and discarded refuse by neighbors. On a recent walk, several more mature ash trees infested with emerald ash borers were identified. The park deserves improvement in TLC. Clockwise, there's the lower left corner, vandalized park bench. We have discarded auto part, the satellite view of Perry Park, street map of Perry Park, discarded auto parts, and view of granite benches, one that's toppled and one that's out of sorts. Okay, so do you have anything else to add to this, Stephanie?
Thank you. I did have the opportunity to meet with a local landscaper from Lovely Earth who had some good suggestions, but I think generally works on a smaller scale and I believe would probably be a subcontractor type. And I have not heard back from another landscaper that I reached out to. I think if the plan were to incorporate some parking for the church across the street, that it would definitely require some design work. I'm not sure if that would be the overall plan, but just from a safety and traffic perspective, because King Street is very, very busy. I guess an alternative I was thinking would be to tackle the park in piecemeal, but like, I guess, I mean, I don't know, like, who the point person would be. Like, I guess I was just thinking that really some design would probably be the best. I don't know, I was trying to look at it sort of globally, and I think starting with some design work would probably be the best.
Yeah, but that's what the consultant you're gonna hire is gonna do.
Exactly.
right? So, I mean, really, the object of your project is to hire a consultant, and the consultant would talk to different people, gather all kinds of information. Then
Exactly.
they'd give you a report that would say, you know, here's what you need to do for phase 2 if you really want to implement this, and here's
Okay,
how much
good,
it's gonna
yes.
cost, right?
Thank you. Yep.
Yeah, go ahead, Kim.
When you initially made the proposal several weeks ago, you said something about a invasive species,
The Japanese knotweed, yeah.
Japanese knotweed. I couldn't remember the term. This does not cover any of that. This is just a design.
Yes. Well, design plus, yes, design essentially.
Okay, my interpretation of the previous was that it would be some design and some sort of documentation to prove how to get rid of this invasive species.
Oh, I have the research about the invasive species, but this is a landscape architect, so I would have to go to a licensed herbicide applicator to help me with the invasive species, but I do have the research to back that up.
Okay,
So you'd probably include that in your phase 2.
Yes.
If you were gonna address, you know,
Yes.
getting rid of it, right?
Yes.
as far as the pictures go, the lower right, lower left with the showing you the picnic table, that just basically has been there and wasn't treated.
No, it actually was intact until late last summer, and then somebody, there's definitely evidence of people hanging out there.
Maybe, but that's a board that's seen much better days 10 years ago.
Yes, but with the toppled nearby granite park bench,
Yeah, I
somebody
agree.
purposely did something to those
Yep,
pieces, unfortunately.
okay. So this $30,800 would just basically be a rough estimate for a bid to get this work
It
done.
would be a starting point for how to tackle the project, because I mean, I'm a gardener in my own house, and I've talked to now a local landscaper, but it's a little bit bigger than just me and a landscaper.
Yeah, okay.
I think my only question was around the cost of that architectural, landscape architecture. I think that one, we only had the one quote, but as you said, it's hard to get people to and reply back and give you other quotes. So we had no other quotes come back to you? Or for
No,
any of,
I've tried with another native plant specialist nearby. I haven't heard back, so I'm guessing probably this landscape architect has more names. Like I don't even. I'm not. I mean, I would guess they would have more professional contacts than I
To
have.
do the actual
Than I
work,
have,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm just talking, this is the cost of just the architectural design to lay it out and what your ideas are. I was just interested to see if there was a lesser cost. It could have been more expensive in other places, right? I've gotten quotes recently that one was $5,000 more than the other two quotes.
Oh, yeah.
Just, that was my only wonder, but you don't have any other quotes, so.
I don't.
Yeah,
I
no
just have
one's-
this local landscaper who is, I think, a smaller scale
Yeah,
person.
it's a big job.
Yeah.
Yes, Ed?
I have some reservations about it. Nowhere in the plans do I see anything as far as for parking, once it gets done, for parking to use the facility. And have you spoken with the Congregational Church?
Well, I have not, but I also, the Union Street is, people park along there all the time. There isn't parking set aside for it currently. It really needs to be restored. I
Well, is
hadn't
it-
planned on making parking for a park that doesn't currently have parking. But
As-
also, I mean, does the Congregational Church pay us to use parking there now?
Yes. The Congregational Church, a few times a year, they use, which is the Perry Park, not where the monument is, but across, which used to be the ball field, with the, and the backstop, which was down by where the planting is on, towards Main Street. And they use that for their fairs that they have, the Christmas fair and other things. They use that. And you supplied a picture of some ruts in the park. And that was caused by, it was a year ago, where they had the fair, and that was all mud, and they had to be pulled out by some four-wheel drive vehicles. That's what caused that. That wasn't caused by somebody just using it to ride over it. They were parked there in the mud. They didn't have any other place. Also, that's used by the Boy Scouts. They have their electronics recycling, and they use the park for that. But so I think before you go ahead with this, you ought to speak with the pastor over at the church or the Congregational Church, and with the probably with a committee over there to see what their idea is. And in addition, I think you should go ahead probably with the section of Perry Park in itself. And it seems to me, maybe somebody knows more about it than I do, but I thought that where the monument is, I thought that was controlled by the church, but I might be mistaken on that. But that's something that should be updated. And it was done a few years ago with the monument. They did something with.
Yeah, there's
the Union
definitely a
of the
tree
Kill.
that's dead
Bob
now.
Dup- oh, of course it was Bob. They did something with the monument. But, and I think you should start with that, which wouldn't interfere with anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe the knotweed, because the knotweed, you're making it sound like it's an easy fix.
Oh, I don't think it's
not.
easy. It's
I've
going to
dealt
take a
with it.
couple years.
It's not an easy
But
fix.
I do have some evidence-based practice.
Okay, well, have you talked to the highway superintendent about the eradication of the knotweed?
No, but that's a good idea. I can certainly talk to Rennie.
Well, I would have thought you would have done that beforehand.
I've talked
you
to him in
might
the
have some-
past about various things,
Okay, can
but
you
I
let me
have not
finish?
talked to him about the knotweed.
Can you let me finish without interrupting? If he perhaps has some expertise in the eradication of the knotweed, and he might be able to steer you in the right direction. You don't think he does? Okay.
Or he would have already tackled it, right?
So Stephanie, I'm assuming that really what you're saying is you're going to hire a consultant to design Perry Park and incorporate improvements in it. And so certainly, I think, according to what Ed would like to see, is parking improvements, right? And so I think that when if we vote for this and it gets approved at town meeting, that certainly the scope, you're going to have to draw up a scope for the consultant that you're going to hire. Already you've got one, but, probably update it. And certainly one of the things should be parking, and the other one should be the eradication of the knotweed. So, the fact that you haven't really talked to anyone else about these things really doesn't affect, I don't think anyway, doesn't affect your proposal. But indeed, basically what Ed is saying, yes, we want that included in the study so that when you come back with a report, it's telling us parking and knotweed eradication, right?
Yeah, and just a reminder, I'm a private citizen who simply lives in the neighborhood who would like to see the park fixed. I'm not a professional
Sure.
in any way, shape, or form, so just thought I would ask for help getting this park fixed.
Okay. Any other questions?
I think it's a feasible plan. The only thing is that I'd like to see 2 bids minimum, because we are spending taxpayer money.
Well, again, we only need one estimate for our proposal, right? So if you look at all the proposals, there's usually only one estimate. Because if the town meeting votes on it, then, if required, we have to go out, put it to bid. So in a case like this, then we may have to go out for bid, and Rebecca can answer this question. Certain services like the scanning and even the hiring of certain consultants for something like this do not require bidding. Is that correct?
Yes, under Chapter 30B, they are not required, but with all of our projects, we go through that process so that we can make sure that we're getting the lowest, most reasonable bidder on that project.
Right.
Yes, you are correct, it is not required.
Right. And so that's why typically we add in 10% contingency because whatever number we vote, it's up to that amount. So in this case, we're saying, the Perry Park design, it's going to be up to $30,800. But per chance, it could be less than that, depending upon, what the bidding and estimates do. So indeed, Kim, we will get, more
Okay.
pricing.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay.
As far as parking, because I think what your question on the parking was, it's just courtesy parking that we give to the church, right? They don't give us any funds to use Perry Park as parking. This is just their, I'm asking. I have
Do
no
they even
idea.
pay taxes?
I don't know.
Okay.
But they don't give the town any money to use that for parking, correct?
No, they
Do you
don't.
know? Okay.
Okay.
So it's just a courtesy for the town.
Exactly.
Allowing them to park there, I assume.
They generally will ask permission to use that,
Cool, yeah.
and they ask permission to hang put a sign up or whatever.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah, I would suggest as well, if, with the architectural design, adding in maybe what potential parking we have. But parking definitely would raise a price to that phase two, right? It's not, it comes a whole different ballpark when you're adding parking into comparison to just landscape design, so. I agree with you, I think that Perry Park could use a little TLC.
And
Thank you.
thank you for coming forward with
Thank you.
this request, because it's not necessarily easy thing to do, right? Okay.
It's a learning experience for sure.
Sure. The next project is the Pines parking proposal, and we requested a map and some numbers on the parking. And so that's on this page with the two-sided map. So according to this, the total current parking at the Pines is 129 spots with 7 handicap designated spots. And then on the other side, we have Town Hall complex and the fire department parking space. So the total complex parking there is 150 spots and 11 handicap designated spots. So the total spots that will become available if we make these connections between the Town Hall complex and the Pines means that we will have a total of 279 total non-designated spots and 18 designated handicap parking spots, which is pretty significant. 279. you know.
We're adding?
No, that's
okay.
what the total
All
will
right,
be.
gotcha.
Because we're really
Based on
not,
right now.
yeah, we're really not adding any. It's by making the connection between the two. You know, right now, the Pines, only has 129 designated
Yep.
spots, undesignated spots, and we're doubling that basically by connecting it to Town Hall with the ramp. So do we have any other questions for Rebecca on the Pines parking? No? No? Okay.
Mike, I
Yes.
just, are they looking to increase any of the parking down at the Pines itself? Not the town hall, but the Pines. There's probably areas there that can be used for additional parking.
Yes.
So that is the goal. The goal is to add additional parking up by the dog park area and add additional parking down by the skate park area, and also add parking along the entryway going up to the boat ramp where it's feasible. And communicating with the highway superintendent, he had taken a closer look at some of the measurements on the ground and had stated that he thinks that we could easily add an additional 20 to 30 parking spaces just by restriping and capitalizing on those areas. But that doesn't include a more comprehensive look at some other areas. Those are just what we would take into consideration as part of the project on paving and putting down the final coat on the Pines area, because that was never done originally when it was constructed. So it's still at the binder coat.
But this project doesn't address those things.
It does address those. It's,
Oh, it
it's
does?
part of the paving and markings and the connection to both the town hall parking lot to the Pines Recreation area.
Additional question?
Yeah.
Does that also include a access from the town hall parking lot to the Pines?
Yes.
And that obviously be handicap accessible, so it would have to go at angles.
Yes, you had asked for more design plans, but the design plans are incorporated in our quote for what we're asking for CPC. So there's about $25,000 for an engineer to present design plans that would accommodate for the slope in order to be ADA compliant, as well as in the best interest for construction, whether it be further up towards the library side or further towards the back. But that is something that the engineer would be doing, so we didn't have that information to share with you, as it is part of our price and what we're requesting.
Okay, almost at my.
Okay.
Rebecca, was there a additional number of parking spots that, I don't remember, I don't have the last page, the hopes to get additional parking spots? This is the current, is the 279-18, that's the current, right? What are the additional parts,
So we were
spots we're
looking
hoping
at
to
like we were hoping to get at least 15 to 20
15 to 20?
with the striping, and including that, again, that area, about 5 parking spaces, maybe up by the basketball court, a little further up by the dog park, and then further down, again, by going up to the ramp, whether it be pull-in, where you're on your way to the boat ramp, and then again, on the other side where the skate park is being constructed, there'd be a whole parking lot that people are currently parking in, but it would be paved and striped, whereas currently it's not. So if you were to stripe it, you'd actually get more parking spaces in that area. So again, we're a little unsure until we actually get where the ramp is going, because if the ramp goes down to where the skate park is, that might take away a couple of parking spaces, but we're in the ballpark of 15 to 20 additional spaces just in those areas.
Is there a minimum for like ADA stuff to say what the percentage of handicap spaces have to be to regular parking?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know if we met that now, or if,
So I know we checked with the ADA coordinator, Sam Joslin, in terms of our parking calculations. I think Annie spoke to him specifically, and I believe that we are in compliance now. So I didn't do much more research into that. I don't know if
no, as long as we're in compliant, then that's,
No, I would think, once the skate park gets built, I'm sure that'll have an ADA spot associated with it. I would think that if we were to add parking spots along the entrance to the boat ramp, there would probably be an ADA spot there, but we work really well with Sam, and we've already spoken about the ramp and what that would potentially look like, but yeah, we're in good communication with him.
thank you.
It looks like, it meets the requirements for handicap parking, but with additional, looks like you got about six handicap spots to work with. The last I knew, it was 1 per 25, and, but I don't think any of our spots here are van accessible, are they?
I'm not sure. I mean, I know that they're designated handicap spots, but I'm not sure if they're van accessible, being if they're the appropriate width. But I do know we, again, just did an ADA transition plan, and the coordinator had come out and talked with Northeast, I forget the full name of their organization, but they didn't say that we weren't in compliance there. We were not in compliance in other areas, but specific to your question, I'm not sure where and if that spot exists at the Pines, but I do know that we were told we were in compliance, but I can follow up with that.
Yeah, no, it looks like, it looks like there is enough, but, and you're not going to add that many more, so we might not have to add any more HP spots. Almost there.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay. Thanks, Rebecca. The next project is the Shanahan Field Parking Project for 886,800. And, let's see. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, so what we have for that submitted is by residents Sandra and Sarah Sheehan, saying, I wanted to let you know that we are in discussions pending agreement in regards to removing the fence encroachment for the One River's Edge property. We expect to have a resolution by February 27th, 24 at the latest. We also expect to have the fence removed by June 1, 2024. I wanted to submit this information to you so that you could share the update with the CPC committee, since it has been an ongoing concern for some of our members. So that answers some of the concerns that we've had in the past regarding some of the abutting properties to Shanahan Field. Do we have questions on this one?
I understood that a couple of the affected residents were meeting to get a consensus or a resolution, and I just wondered if that has occurred.
We are those people at 425 Main Street.
Yes, I just didn't know your name, so I said basically
Yes.
you're the residents.
Thank you. So yeah, we are still working it out. We're still, our attorney's working with the Sheehan's attorney. We are hoping to come to a resolution, but it is still in process.
Okay,
Yeah. But hopefully, yes, resolved soon, we all hope,
okay.
right?
And what's your feeling about adding the parking spaces? Do you think that's going to help matters in general there, or what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think one of my questions that I had is that, I mean, River's Edge looks like it's still going to be there. It doesn't look like River's Edge itself is going to have parking, right? It's still open, like, I think that's the way people are going to come in, and then there's going to be other parking available.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think, obviously more parking needs to be done in that area.
Mhm.
And I believe the historical house is still staying there. And then she'll have her own area, because I know that she tends to get more congested and people are on top of her coming in and out
Right.
than the rest of us.
Right, right. Okay, thank you.
Crazy over there.
I do have to say, though, I think this past summer, they did a great job staggering the soccer fields, where before it would be one team would end and the other team would be coming to their game, so you'd have really a lot of teams there at one time. And they did a good job staggering it a half hour, so it gave those families time to get off the field, and then the new families for the next hour game or whatever could come on.
Good to know,
So
thank
I
you.
do think that the staggering of that was a huge help this past summer.
Pass that along. Thank you.
And again, we know that that's really a spring, it really is only a spring to early summer issue. Like, even when there's soccer in the fall, it doesn't seem to be as crazy as it is in the spring or
Yeah.
early summer.
Okay, any other questions on the Shanahan Field project?
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead, Ed.
again, this was proposed last year, a similar proposal for $500,000.
Yep.
And we cut it down under $500,000 by eliminating the lights in the parking lot. And now we're coming to 800 and some odd.
886.
Hmm?
886.
All right, I thank you. 380-something thousand dollars more. I mean, I just think it's a lot of money to be spending. And I still don't like the idea of cutting down. Last year it was 8 trees, I think. This time it's 10. Those trees were put up by the garden club several years ago. I know they're gonna put new trees in, but it's gonna take a while for them to get established. These are already established trees. I think they ought to be able to work around where the trees are to change this project so that it's less costly and it's not cutting down trees. We're spending some money in Elm Park, or at some point we will, to save those elm trees. We're saving trees at VZ Park. They're looking to do, and here we're gonna cut them down. It doesn't make sense.
So,
And it still doesn't make sense to me they don't play the soccer at night, so they don't need lights in the parking lot. And what I'm afraid of is that if you put up lights in the parking lot, then they're gonna come back and want lights in the soccer field to use it at night. And I think we ought to get all the neighbors to weigh in on that, if that is a proposal. And this is a little bit at a time, and I think that's gonna be the next proposal. The one thing that should be done before they do anything down there is take the bathrooms and tie it into the town septic system. It's deep down there on Main Street, but it doesn't make sense that the bathrooms there, they have to be pumped out. They ought to be tied into the town septic system, which makes sense. And if you look at it, it's probably like 40 feet from where the bathrooms are, and that may be a lot.
Yeah, it's about 16 to 18 feet deep is
Deep,
the
yeah.
pipe.
But they can get the equipment in there to do that. That part makes sense, but it's not even in our proposal here.
So, yeah, go ahead. Why
Just
don't-
remember, that's not a they, that's an us.
What's that?
That's not a they, it's an us. We'd have to incur that cost to connect to the sewer system.
That's the soccer, that's.
No, it's
there's
the
not
town, the town's field.
The town,
The town's
yeah,
field.
but I thought
Town maintains the whole field.
yeah, I know they mow it.
Yeah, the town mows, but the town takes care, the town owns it. So we would have to intrude that cost to put a sewer system in there.
Well, sure, CPA money. Exactly.
I-
That makes more sense than redoing this whole parking lot.
But, and also with the parking, the lighting. So lighting is a safety thing. When we leave here at night, those lights are on at the Pines. They stay on for safety, right? Not every single light's on all night long, but there has to be some type of safety down there when you have an area where people could actually go. We look at the Perry Park. Things happen, usually it's at dusk. So you have a little bit more safety if someone has to go to their car. If it is gonna have extra parking, you wanna have that there just in case. Not saying that all would have to be illuminated the entire night, all night long. I'm sure there's, just like the new high school, there's certain time frame it shuts off, things like that. But the lighting is a safety, it's more of a safety thing, not for people to hang out.
You see, your statement really doesn't make much sense, because if they go off at midnight, now you got from midnight until the sun comes up that there could be vandalism there.
But if a
So-
game gets over at dusk, they still have some time to get off the field and get to their cars. You want to have a little bit of safety
I
lighting.
don't have any problem now. And they agreed upon that last year when we cut out the lights for the parking lot. They agreed that that could go, but now it's back in. 500,000 last year, 870-something thousand this year, up over $300,000. A lot of money to be spending, a lot of money of the townspeople's money to be spending on redoing this parking lot.
Okay.
But we do have residents here that live nearby that agree, that think it would be a good thing, and there were letters submitted as well. So it's not just our call, we're here for the people. If they agree to it and they've submitted letters, we have to at least take a solid look at it. Like, the cost of it higher.
I'm sorry, but I'm the second part of 425 Main Street, and I'd like to piggyback on Ed's statements. 8.5 is kind of high for something that we're basically just putting a parking lot there. What I think would be beneficial would be, what I think would help the problem as well is talk to the soccer team, talk to the soccer leagues, and stagger their playtime like they did this year. So in the past, it might have been an issue. It was a slight issue. This past season was a lot better because they staggered it. You don't have, 4 teams, 2 teams finishing and 2 teams starting at the. If you break that, if you set limits on those times, maybe like a 30-minute or maybe even 20 minutes, which will give enough time for a team to get in their car leave and then the new teams to come in, that would help the issue, and it costs a lot less than 8,500, you know what I mean? Do we need more parking there? Yes, but not $8,500 worth. Maybe clear up some of that lawn space where the half circle is, clear up some of that lawn space, leaving the trees there and make some designated lines. That right there would help out tremendously. You know what I mean? But I would have to agree with Ed that 8.5 to do a parking lot is kind of steep. Maybe we redesign it, and as well as talk to the soccer league. And as far as the times that they finish well before the sun even decides to start to go down. We've been there for 7 years. We're in our yard longer than the league is out there playing soccer. So just wanted to add that.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
thanks. So I want to hear from Rebecca, maybe give us a little bit of insight as to why the price went up, talk about Ed's questions on the lighting and the trees for us, if you can.
Yes, so first and foremost, it was, I'm glad that you were able to get an update in regards to the neighbor dispute, but I just want to again go on record that has nothing to do with this project, whether or not this project gets approved or not approved. That is between the court system, and what those neighbors decide, it is up to them whether or not their right-of-way is restricted. It is not the town right-of-way, but again, I just want to reiterate that is a civil matter that is not up for the town's discussion. We are not discussing that when we put forward our plan. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. As in regards to the increase in the estimate, again, we are putting forward a 10% contingency as the CPC has advised on all projects. That's an additional $74,000 that's added to the budget. Lastly, at the last meeting, we were asked that we wanted to include engineering to make sure that engineering was performed adequately. That's another $70,000. So we're already adding about $150,000 to our budget from last year in order to comply with the request and the feedback that we heard the first go-around. In regards to the lights, we had a long conversation with multiple individuals, those being the surrounding residents, the police chief, as well as the soccer folks and those that utilize the field. It was agreed that the lighting would be something for a safety mechanism for somebody running after a ball, allowing the soccer folks to utilize the field after dusk, because obviously the weather changes, so not necessarily night games, but still allowing them to utilize the field and get off the field safely. In regards to the deforestation, again, I think the argument still remains that the CPC put forward a project for about $100,000 to remove almost an entire section of forest over at VZ Memorial Park, which is more than 8 trees, and they replanted them, and we're spending taxpayer dollars, $100,000 at VZ Memorial Park to plant those trees. So we're asking to take the trees down to provide a more feasible and economical approach to the parking lot, and we are asking to replant those trees, some of which are already decaying and or have fallen down, in a more efficient manner that would provide additional screening from the neighbors, provide more clear delineation for the Knox house that's currently on the site, for driveways, and to keep the park green. So I'm not sure if there's any other questions in regards to lighting or the plantings, but we also want to make sure that we engineer and design the parking lot accordingly. As we saw with Washington Park, drainage was not put in place, and we had a lot of drainage issues and flooding over in that particular area. So we want to make sure that we're accommodating by putting the proper catch basins in and other mechanisms to make sure that the runoff from the parking lot doesn't go into the roadway, being Main Street. It doesn't go off into the abutting neighborhood, and to make sure that there's no puddling or other issues that could occur from improper drainage. So again, what we're proposing, whatever we don't use, whatever is in the contingency that wouldn't be put forward, would go back to the town. We're not looking to spend any more. The proposal before you is not for the bathrooms, it's not for lighting on the field, it is for a parking lot so that we can provide adequate access to the individuals that the Board of Selectmen and the town is approving use of the field, and providing adequate mitigation to the neighbors and the abutters who are impacted by this, not 1 to 2 times a year, but multiple days during difficult seasons And while the soccer team has done an excellent job at trying to accommodate for such, I still think that there's a lot of complaints that come by for parking, and that is actually something for the Board of Selectmen on their next meeting on February 26th, if anyone would like to weigh in on that and the parking concerns and access. But the proposal before you this evening is again for a parking lot in order to mitigate those concerns and accommodate the requests that came about from the initial conversation back last year, as well as some feedback that we heard from the committee at their last meeting.
Rebecca, I just want to give a point of information here. We did not vote to cut down and replace $100,000 worth of trees at VZ Park. That part of the project was a total of $38,000 to remove primarily invasive brush, which was done, and also a total of about 5 trees. And then they're replanting those, but also planting several more trees in a reforestation pilot project. So I just want to make that clear that we didn't spend $100,000 to cut down trees at VZ Park. And the second question I have for you is, you said that in the beginning, you said $70,000 for engineering, and what was the other $70,000 for?
$74,000 for the 10% contingency on the overall price.
Oh, the contingency. Yes,
Correct.
yes. Thanks. Any other questions? The comment I would have on this project is that parking lots are expensive. Unfortunately, we've seen it before, I mean, we've seen the cost of, at the Pines, making parking more, increase there, the cost, it costs a lot of money to, pave. We saw it at Washington Park when we used CPC money to completely, fix and repave that. So, unfortunately, I think parking lots are expensive, and obviously, I mean, I can't believe either that it's that expensive to put a parking lot in here, but it is, right? And I think that the best thing to do in this case is, again, to let the voters decide at town meeting, because it's kind of a difficult thing for us to decide. I think we should vote to approve it to go to town meeting, and then let it be debated at town meeting to see what town meeting voters think about it. But that's my thought, anyway. Okay. The last project is the 114 Center Street purchase, and after doing some extra work this past week and a couple of meetings with the selectmen and others, I would like to table this project for the time being, when we take a vote on them. So I don't really want to discuss it unless somebody absolutely has a question on it.
So basically, you want to table it for this year?
Yeah, we'll table it till whenever, we may never bring it up again. I don't know, It just, there's too many unknowns at this time to be able to go forward with it, right?
No, thank you for putting the work in.
Sure. Okay, so I think that we're ready to
I
go.
think we missed one.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, your second one in line, Washington Hall.
No, we already,
No, we did
I think
that.
we had any comments.
No, we had comments? Okay, yep, no.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I think, sorry. Yeah, I think that's all it was.
I missed
think
that
we-
one.
I'm hoping we got them all, but,
he's up late.
Yeah.
okay, so what we'll do is we'll go back over to each one, and we'll take a motion on them and vote to either move them forward to town meeting. So that's really, our job is to hear everything about the project, make sure primarily that it's doable under community preservation requirements. It meets the categories, which we already know they do, and then we've investigated them. In one case, we added some funds to it. So I think that we've done our due diligence on these, and then now it's time to decide to move them on and let the ultimate deciders decide at town meeting. So we've got the community garden project at $4,450. Is there a motion?
4,950 on this paper. 4,900,
No, it's,
the one you gave me.
okay. Yes. Mistake on my part. Sorry about that.
Was
All
the
right.
extra- Was the extra going to you, Mike?
No. Yes, so, I'm sorry. So, this is the trouble when you get eight projects, they're hard to keep them all straight. All right, so we have the community garden design phase for $49.50, and is there a motion on this project?
A motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Linda? Okay, any discussion on the motion to approve $49.50 for the community garden design phase? Okay, seeing none, then we'll take a vote. All in favor of $49.50 for the community garden?
Aye.
Aye. Linda?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, okay. The next one is the Washington Hall on the Historic Registry for $6,600, $6,600. Is there a motion on this one?
Yeah, motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor of Washington Hall for $6,600?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Aye.
The next one is the Pine Shade and Seating Project for $21,426. What's your pleasure on this one?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions on this motion? All in favor of the $21,426 for the Pine Shade and Seating Project?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. The next one is the town clerk scanning of documents for $33,000. Is there a motion on this one?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor of the $33,000 for the town clerk scanning of documents?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah. Unanimous. Next one is Perry Park Design Phase for $30,800. What's your pleasure on this one? I'll make a motion to approve it. Is there a second on this?
I'll second it.
Okay, any questions on this project? Okay,
I think we talked about it before, but it goes through the bidding process to see.
yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. So for all in favor of the Perry Park design project for $30,800 for,
Aye.
opposed, abstain, one abstention, oh, great. 2 to 2 to 1.
Mike, what was the vote on that, 2-2-1?
Yeah. You sure you want to abstain on this one, Kim?
Well, I think there's quite a bit of more work that needs to be done to outline exactly what you're going to have somebody bid on. I didn't see, any outline in the original proposal. We had talked today about possibly putting some parking in over there on the side of King Street, next to where the ball field used to be, and a few other things. I just, you can't ask them to give you a bid on just 3 sentences.
Okay,
It's got to be a more detailed proposal
yep,
to put out on the street to get an accurate design.
yep, yep. So you're just kind of
That's
unsure.
my issue.
Yeah,
I
you're-
have no problem spending the money, but I
Yeah.
want to make sure that we get all the answers for all the questions that were submitted by residents and the committee.
Yep, yep, yep.
So, if you can assure me that we're going to get all the answers to that, I'll vote yes. I know, I'm putting you in a spot, but the point is, we don't.
Yeah, no.
We don't want to spend taxpayer money if we don't get the answers for the questions.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, and I certainly think, you're well within your rights to say that, I mean, you're not voting against it, you're just unsure, so you're abstaining, right?
Correct?
Yes. Yes, go ahead.
If I may, I just want to, for process-wise, a lot of the times when you go through brainstorming or a process and trying to figure out what you're going to do with a property, you need to have a consultant there to help you figure out exactly what that looks like and where you could put parking, whether it be traffic flow or whether it be whatever it is that you're placing on a lot. To not have an engineer or a landscape architect part of those conversations, you don't really get that concrete conceptual plan that you're looking for in order to put out to bid, to have somebody construct it and what have you.
I agree.
So that's what I think when I talked to Stephanie originally, when we had this conversation, is that the whole process of what she's looking for is monies to engage with a designer, to sit down and have a conversation as to what would that look like and talk to community members and figure out what they would like to see there, including the abutters like the church, et cetera, as was brought up, and to get a better understanding of what it is to move forward.
Yeah.
I'm not here to speak on Stephanie's behalf. I just, from a planning process and when we have these types of conversations, without having a design expert who has a PE or landscape or RLA to say, you can do this or this happens, it makes it difficult. And I think that's why she wants to engage a
I
design
think-
person to get go.
I agree that I think she has done an admirable job, but I would love to see a piece of paper with 6 or 8 different bullet points that you need to ask this professional designer about. I just don't want her to go into it blind, or whoever goes in and asks for it. You need to have a basic framework to let the designer professional go in, work around, and then you can add, well, this worked good in this town, and this worked good in this town, and do that. That's my only
Mr. Chair.
concern.
I had 2 things. One is, I think this would be a lot easier process if we had more people on our board, where we had a full 9-person board instead of leaving it up to 5 people. It's just disappointing you don't have as many volunteers. But part 2 of it is, I was hesitant in seconding it because of the unknowns.
Yeah.
But at the point, my thought behind it was, with the unknowns, if we're not that sure, I think it's our duty to give it back to the residents and let the residents make that vote. That was my thought process behind it.
in that
I just
case-
like, let it go and let the residents vote on it. and let
With
them
that
make- They
rationale-
can say no, they can say yes, and now it's just not up to just 5 people throughout the whole town.
Yeah, with that rationale, I would say go with it.
And I'm not trying to sell it.
But,
I'm
no,
just
I'm not
saying
trying
that
to.
was
I'm
my
not-
rationale
I
behind it.
just want a little more framework, that's all.
And my thought was, I think it's a good idea, but it's just so nebulous right now. There's so
Okay,
many unknowns.
sure, sure.
I'd like what you do, more framework.
Well,
It's just too nebulous now.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Mike, I think she did a good proposal, a great proposal, but it's tremendously incomplete, and
Yeah.
I think she needs to do more work. So I think it ought to be sent back to the petitioner for more work.
Yes. So, we could do that. We could, rather than, because we have a tie kind of anyway, we could ask for more clarity on her current proposal, particularly about the items that were brought up, about the invasives and about the parking issues, et cetera. But that would mean that if we're going to consider it for this year, we're going to have to meet again. So if the board doesn't mind meeting again, otherwise, I would suggest then that we just not approve it, and she would have to bring it again next year.
My wonder is, how is she going to be able to bring anything more? She's just a citizen
She's
trying to help, and
single
she doesn't
resident.
know, she's just trying to figure out how to do it, doesn't know how to do it, so that's where she's submitted her application, come to us, and hope for the best. That's why I wouldn't know, right, if I were in her seat, if I am unknowing of what else to do, what more can I do?
Yeah.
So I don't know where I,
So
now.
I know that Rebecca, you assisted her, right? Is it possible to add these things to the scope of the consultant for the same amount of money, or?
Yes, definitely. I think that if it's a more organized application that you're looking for in terms of detail, in terms of what we're going to be working with the consultant with, I can definitely help Stephanie put that together and provide it to the board. I mean, a lot of the applications that you've seen historically that come through the CPC have come from Mike himself or Claire or some of the more routine, if you will, or regulars, that you will, from the community for these applications. So I think that, Stephanie really wanted to try and get involved and do her due diligence in getting something started. And so she originally had brought the idea forward to me, and she wasn't sure exactly how to get pricing, so we had an initial conversation with the landscape architect. And so if it's more detail, I can take that and work with her and figure out exactly how that would be structured. And again, I think that it's also important to note that, when, and Mike and Claire can speak to this, is that when going through the CPC process, we work closely together to make sure that we're doing things for procurement and making sure that we're doing things correctly. So I know that if Stephanie were to move forward in whatever decides to happen, that she would have the assistance of having somebody help her through that process. But I have no problem trying to sit down with her and get a more clear understanding of exactly what she's expecting to get from it and give you that bullet list in the format that I think that you're looking for.
So I guess then what I would suggest is we'll ask her to come up with something that includes some of our questions, right? And if she can do it, then we'll try to have another meeting before the warrants are due. And if
Yeah.
not, we won't be able to put it
Well,
on this
the
year.
only other thing that I was thinking, if they come up with a bullet list, is it possible just to email it out to each member of the board and get a return approval or denial? Or is that not allowed?
Well, I think my understanding from open meeting law is that would not be allowed because you
Okay.
need to make that decision in a public meeting, but that's my recommendation that you not proceed in that fashion. But I'm more than able to email Mike to distribute to the board to let you all review it, but I think you'd need to convene in a meeting in order to make that vote official, and under the law.
Okay.
What would the time frame be in order to be in time for the warrant?
When does the warrant close, Rebecca?
They have not set a final date, but typically it's their second meeting in March, so I believe that, I want to say that's March 25th, but I don't have a calendar in front of
So
me.
we're looking at a month.
And I
We got
can,
about a month, right?
I can work with Stephanie quickly to turn that around, just so that you had that and you can make a meeting at your convenience, if that's what the board wants to do. I'm in no way advocating one way or the other, I just want to be mindful that, you know, a citizen had approached us about trying to be proactive about an issue that she saw in the community, and that, you know, we don't have a, you know, I was the CPC administrator at one point, and I've taken on different duties, but I do still help administer CPC, so I am happy to help anyone who needs any assistance. So I, again, don't want to speak on behalf of Stephanie, but I just don't want to not advocate when she's come to me for
I
advice.
would be glad to meet. Again, a simple public meeting wouldn't take that long.
Yep.
The only problem I need, Mike, is I need several weeks' notice. I ended up taking another day off from work tonight to come to
Oh.
this meeting.
Yes, I'm sorry about that. So, yeah, what we can do tonight is we can set a tentative date as late as possible, the week before the selectmen meet to close the warrant. And if we can get something back, then we'll have a meeting, right?
That's fine.
So I'll make a motion, since that motion didn't go anywhere, I'll make a motion to table the Perry Park design project to another meeting, if possible. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Second.
Any, let's see. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of tabling the Perry Park design project? Yes,
Aye.
okay, unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Kind of tricky to figure some of this stuff out. So before we leave, we'll set the date for the next meeting. The next project is the Pines Parking Project for $523,110? Yeah, 110. Sorry.
Make a motion. Accept that.
Second.
Is that number include the contingency? Is that with that number?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Any other questions on that project? Okay, seeing none, then we'll take a vote. All in favor of the Pines Parking Project?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous? And the last one is the Shanahan Field Parking Project for $886,800. What's your pleasure on this one? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further questions on this one? No?
No,
Seeing-
the only statement was that part of that was also to get people off of Main Street because how dangerous it was.
Yeah.
It's on here, talking about how Main Street is dangerous with the parking
Yes.
currently.
Yes.
I know we didn't talk about it before.
No, we didn't, safety issues there. Okay, all in favor of the Shanahan Field parking for $886,800?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? So Linda, you said yes?
I said yes.
Okay, so it passes 3-2. Okay, so we've got our outlined for 6 projects anyway to town meeting.
Okay, there was no motion about tabling 114 Center Street.
Oh, okay, yes, thank you. So, you want to make that motion,
Be
Kim?
glad to. I'd like to table 114 Center Street, which is also with number something, Washington Street,
Second.
for future discussion.
Yep, okay. Any discussion, we don't need any discussion really on a table measure. All in favor of tabling? Unanimous, good. Sorry about that. Got caught up in the excitement of passing 6 of the 8 projects. Okay, so just a couple of other business items related to our proposals. So the first is we should approve the set-asides for the fiscal year 2023 funds for the town meeting warrant. So we, between the amount of revenue collected locally and the state match, we were able to realize approximately $650,000 in our CPA income. So I would like to propose a motion to approve $650,000. So I would like to approve 10% set-asides for open space, housing, and historic preservation at $65,000 each, which is, like I say, 10%, which is what we're required to do, set aside. And then I'd also like to designate up to $35,000 for admin costs. But, you know, typically, we never spend all of that money, and it just goes right back into our general number. So I'd like to motion that we do those set-asides for the annual town meeting warrant article.
One question,
Sure.
what are our admin costs?
What are they? Some years, none. Some years, nothing. We don't spend any money. Some years, you know, we may print up some information about the warrant articles and pass that out, you know, spend a few $100s on that. Sometimes we have spent money on signage for projects that didn't include signage in the project. And the other area is, which we have approved in the past, but not recently done it, is an administrative assistant for the CPC, so that we're not having to take minutes and do all the stuff using volunteer help. So that's typically where that money goes. But as I say, we really haven't spent very much admin money over the past 5 years.
Okay.
So was there a second on my motion?
Second.
Okay. Any more questions on the set-asides? No? All in favor?
Yep.
Unanimous? Okay, I don't think the next one needs a motion, but usually what needs to be done next is write up the warrant articles, which is pretty much an explanation for each one and the verbal language that the warrant article has to be in to appropriate that kind of money for each one. So I'm more than happy to do that, but just wanted to make sure that everybody's okay with that. And also, the next two things also probably don't really require votes. So already I have been before the Finance Board. I'll probably be going back to the Finance Board one more time because we didn't have the numbers at that time, the final numbers, because we hadn't taken votes. So probably going back to them. Also do a presentation to the selectmen on the projects and what the final votes are on them. So because both of those boards offer recommendations on the projects and what they think, either yay or nay, what their recommendations are on those. So they like to be kept up to speed and update on what the projects actually are and what we voted to go forward at town meeting. And then, again, answering questions at town meeting regarding the projects. Usually, we encourage the people who are presenting the project to come to town meeting and answer the questions so that our board isn't necessarily tied up with trying to come up with answers out of our memory of what we heard. But sometimes that doesn't happen. So usually, I'm more than happy to try to answer as many questions as I can.
That town meeting is April 29th?
Yes.
That's 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock?
7 o'clock, I think. It's at 7?
It's usually 7, special.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yep. Perfect. We have the expert with us. Yeah. Okay. Number 8 on the agenda is prior project scope change. So I only have one thing to ask on this, is we had a prior project that was approved at town meeting for Johnson's Pond weed removal in 2021. And that project called for hiring a company to do hydro raking in the pond and clear out the water lilies that were choking the pond. That was done, and it successfully made a path through from the boat launch at the bottom of Beasley Park out to the main part of the water in the pond. However, I think we've determined that we're not going to do any more hydro raking because it's not as effective in really getting rid of the weeds. And what happens is we would have to actually be hydro raking probably every 3 to 5 years, which costs way too much money. And it really ends up being a maintenance fee more than a one-time project. So I don't anticipate coming, the commission doesn't anticipate coming to CPC and asking for any more money to hydro rake, because I don't think it's proven its worth for long-term solution. But there is still about $20,000 left in the project, and I've been approached by a resident about some aeration devices that we could put in that would at least keep the path through the weeds out to the main part for boaters to be able to get out there without paddling through the weeds and getting caught up in them. And the estimated cost is somewhere in the $6,000 to $8,000. So Rebecca likes us to approve any scope change. So the scope change would be still under clearing the pond, but not just hydro raking. You know, we would obtain some aeration devices to increase the oxygen level and keep the path clear. So that's what I would ask, if we can make that change. Any questions on that? No? Okay, so I'll make that motion to add to the project scope approximately $6,000 to $8,000 for aeration devices for clearing the pathway through the pond. Is there a second on that one?
Second.
Okay. Any questions on the motion? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Okay, the next are the minutes from our last meeting. They're in that packet, January 25th, 2024. Any questions on the minutes?
They look to be in order.
Thank you. What's your motion on that?
Well, I make a motion, we pass.
Thank you.
Approved.
Second.
Okay. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of passing the minutes from January 25th? Unanimous, thank you. And so our next meeting, so let's take a look at this. So the selectmen meet on March 25th, which would mean March 21st, which is a Thursday night. Is a different night better for you, Kim?
Oh, as
No.
long as I have ample notice, I put in the request to have that day off,
Oh, okay.
and they just give me a different day.
So March 21st.
Okay.
And, you know, what I will do is, if I get an update, then I'll send it out by email and let you know that we will meet. But if I don't get an update, then we'll cancel, you know, we won't have the meeting.
Same time, 6:30?
Yeah, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think that the earlier the better. And it should only be,
Minutes.
should only be a half an hour or so, so. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning at 8:08 PM? Say aye.
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 Thank you to all the participants,
Yes,
the
thank,
submissions.
yes, excellent, excellent interest this year.
Yeah.